Hello, NuPIC. This is Matt Taylor, open source community flag bearer, and it's Friday. It's been 2 Fridays since we had our last NuPIC development progress review meeting, and that's what this is right now. David Ray is on the line. Hi, David.
Hi.
And Scott and the Numenta team are in the Numenta offices. We don't have Richard Crowder with us today. I couldn't make it, but we'll try to get a Windows update from Scott. So let me go to my screen. So I did go through some tickets and stuff, but there's a couple of things that I want to highlight again, similar to what we did last time. I'm not going to go over everything. First off, is our NuPIC core is still quite a bit ahead of NuPIC, so that's still that is still the situation. We're still waiting on some NuPIC core build was to fall in the right places, and some Windows things to get cleaned up. While I'm on the subject, maybe this is a good time for Scott to say something about that, if you have anything, Scott.
Yeah, we just got into a spot where we had too many different build things going into NuPIC core. The Windows build from Richard, some stuff that Chayton was working on, and then my work trying to get, just the general build changes, and trying to get it back in sync with NuPIC. So the Windows and Chayton's work is all merged, so I'll be working on that with high priority.
Okay, it's high priority. Get our repos synced back up, which is good. So all of our open pull requests, there are 16 open. 7 of them have been open for a while, or over a month, and almost all of those are Marks. So we have this bad trend of Mark having a bunch of open pull requests that we can't merge. I can't blame Mark for all of them, but some of them are just things that he hasn't responded to feedback on, or is waiting for something else to merge, or they're in some sort of blocked state. But there's a couple of them that I've kind of pushed on Scott to assign to somebody or do something with, but I'm not going to go over each one of them. We still have a PR open for moving Python extension libraries to CMake. I think you put that on hold for a while, right, Scott, while you were cleaning up other things?
That's what I was referring to getting back to try to get the builds back in sync.
Great. I would still love to remove the support repos from the build, but after talking to Scott, I'm going to wait for these other things to fall into place, because that just adds more build complexity that we don't need right now. So once things settle down and we get everything back synced, I think I do want to reattack this, and that will decrease the complexity overall. A couple one-off PRs that aren't too important to talk about. Unless, Scott, you see or anyone sees something up here that's a major change, I don't think. Chayton, maybe you could talk about this Captain Light P thing. I think you got some help from Richard on that.
Yeah, he's continuing to help me. AppVeyor is failing for different reasons each time I do a push, and Richard is being helpful in figuring that out. So I'm just waiting again on his response on other AppVeyor issues that came up.
Okay. So good. Richard continues to be helpful. Excellent. Other than that, I don't have anything from the project management standpoint. There's a lot of progress being made, so I can't really complain. We'll get our build system cleaned up. One thing that is on the horizon that we may want to mention, and this is all sort of up in the air, but I've been wanting to make some changes to processes for our open source NuPIC stuff for a while, and just haven't had the time because of HTM Challenge. Once that's over with, Scott and I and the Numenta team will be reevaluating some of our pipeline flows and what our goals are and what are the best tools to do it. So as soon as we get all these builds back running nicely, we might tear them up and rebuild them again. But no details about that yet. We're still in the investigative phases of that endeavor, and we certainly won't do anything until we have a good block of time to do it after the challenge is over. David Ray, do you want to talk about HTM Java updates?
Sure. Not too much to tell. We just released another version, 0.64 alpha. That's up on Maven Central right now, and all of the related example code in htm.java examples have been updated, and their executable jars have been rejarred, and the classes have been updated. So everything is in accordance with, well, everything is in sync. The examples are in sync with the core code. I had to, I guess, one of the two big news items, I guess. One is that at Chelu, so Jose has a community member who has been with us now for a little bit of time. He's working on MNIST, some image processing code, and he's contributed a lot to htm.java. He has reworked, because we had a sparse matrix class that used an array as a backing array, and it basically doubled the memory that was in use. And he's really kind of stressed for memory in his implementation, because he's using a huge HTM. So he basically reworked the sparse matrix class so that it uses half the memory. And then he's recently, like a couple of days ago, made another advancement with it and sped it up like 30%, I think it was, or 50%. So, but he hasn't yet submitted a PR for that. The code is done, but I'm waiting on him to, he says he had some other things to do this week. So anyway, so we're looking forward to including his low memory matrix and his speed up. And then the second thing was the network API. There were some changes I had to make because of some realizations that were forced upon me that have to do with certain things, like what data structures are handed off to from one algorithm to another. So the network API was using the predicted columns when it should have been using the active cells. So there was like a domino effect. There were a lot of downstream rewriting of the network API that had to happen. So that took place last week. It was kind of a rush and to get that in. So everything's working now, and everything is working as it should, both theoretically and functionally. So if you're waiting on and you haven't heard the news that this was updated, you can go ahead and download it now, htm.java, because it's certified working. So so that's available for like the HTM challenge people and likewise. So that's about it.
So do you know what Jose is working on? He's working with a huge HTM. I'm just curious what he's doing.
He's just got a huge matrix that I can't remember. I think it's 2048 by 2048. In other words, he's using he's got a 32 gigabyte HTM, and he cut it down to 16 gigabytes. So, and that's about the most we can cut it down. Oh no, it isn't actually. I was mentioning that we might introduce a bitmap class, like Roaring Bitmaps. It specializes in fast bitmaps. So instead of using 32 bits per bit representation in the vector, we can just use one. So that might help some. or just use a byte. I mean, that might help some. So Anyway,
Okay.
I'm not sure what it is he's working on. I don't think it's MNIST. It might be something like that. But I think it's a personal project of his.
Okay, cool. I like personal projects. So, guys in the office, Scott, do you have anything we should bring up while everybody's in the same room for the NuPIC team?
No.
Do you guys mind if I take this chance to run over the HTM challenge submissions we have?
Go for it.
Okay, let me do that. So here's our current submissions. I think we have 13 now. This first one, AI 909, is a drum machine that generates breakbeats with HTMs. It runs on top of HTM Java. I think Taylor Peer, who's a Cortical IO team member, created that. I haven't tried out all of these. I'm just kind of giving you the impression that I get from reading them and approving them. This Clairvaux is an interesting one. It's trying to predict armed conflicts in Africa. So there's this really kind of interesting armed conflict database for Africa and Europe, and he's trying to use that to. And I don't know exactly how he's going to do it. He has a plan. I think it's really interesting, but I just want to see what it comes out to. But he wants to try. This is a way for him to learn about HTMs, but also to try and explore categorical prediction and visualization. So I just thought this was a cool project. Whether he does something interesting with it or not, it's very cool to try. This knowledge graphs with HTM is an NLP application that Chandon created to try and create this. If you know what a knowledge graph is, it's like associations between objects and how they're associated. So he wants to try and train or create knowledge graphs based on text processing with HTM. I should mention, by the way, some of these are going to be what I'm calling innovation projects, or projects that are not applications of HTM. They are just innovative uses of it. So that's sort of a different category. They will not be judged by the judges because the judges are more laymen. That's the case for this one, which is Eric Larkins, and he's using some. I don't understand what this is, but column swarm reinforcement learning. I've read a bunch about it, and he has some details here. So it's a bit orthogonal to HTM, but it makes heavy use of properties of SDRs, and I think it's interesting enough to at least showcase. So we're going to do it. Marcus Lewis is trying to hook up Comportex visualization to NuPIC, which I thought was going to be very difficult for him, and he said, no, I've already got it working. So that will be really cool. If you know what Comportex Viz is, it's all the neat visualizations that we see coming out of Marcus and Felix from Comportex. Hopefully we'll get some subset of that working straight out of NuPIC, which would be really cool. And there's this Nostromo, which is, of course, is David Ray's geospatial application that he's building on top of HTM Java. Not much detail here, but there's a bunch of detail in his README and working code, I believe. No, not this doesn't have working code, does it, David? You're still working on the FX maps.
Right. So. Right. There's a whole library I have to build before it. So.
Yeah, so David's building the world before he can build the things on top of it, but it still looks cool. Oh, where did? Okay, there we go. Next, Brain Squared is Marion's team of EEG mad scientists trying to do classification of EEG data. So this is an ongoing interest of Marion's even before she joined Numenta to try and do that. Here we've got an air traffic anomaly detector. So this is another geospatial application created by Mike Lachetta, and he has a friend of his working on the user interface. I need to check up with them and see how far they're going, how far they're getting. But this is actually built on top of HTM Java as well. It uses Mike Luchetta's HTM MoClue project, which is a way of scaling HTM so we can run lots of anomaly models at once, which is what this needs for all of the aircraft. And we have the HTM for Adelaide arterial traffic flow using HTM. So I've been working with this guy, Jonathan. He's got lots of great traffic data from Australia, and he's trying to identify traffic incidents at certain intersections, dangerous intersections, and flag them as they happen. So I think that's going well, and he actually has a supercomputer he's using, so he can process a lot of data very quickly. Hey, Chaitin, since you're here, you could talk real quick about Chad anomaly.
Okay. This is kind of an example.
Wait, is it pronounced Chaitin anomaly?
Here, I think it might be something. Yes. So Chaitin anomaly is it's an example of NuPIC that you can use with your own Google Hangouts data. So you'll be able to download Google Hangouts data from Google Takeout, which is a service that Google provides, and then feed it through. This will give you an ability to feed that through NuPIC and do anomaly detection on your Hangouts, the message activity in your Hangouts over time. And the future other applications of that would be detecting anomalies in any message activity in group conversations online.
Very cool. The hard drive lifeguard is a project by a guy named Manpreet Singh who has a bunch of data on statistics, metrics taken off of hard drives during, I think they're during actual stress tests or doing some sort of stressful activities on them. A good percentage of which failed and versus others that did not fail. And what he wants to do is try and classify the current metrics coming off of any hard drive of whether it is in a pre-failure state, sort of similar to trying to identify a pre-ictal state for a seizure in EEG data. So to identify that your hard drive is going to fail, which would be very, very useful. So I've been working with him and so Subutai on that. This is Ken's ECG and HTM. So he's got a really interesting application. He's going to try and identify abnormal heart rhythms. And we've been talking to him on the mailing list about that too. So this is a classic signal analysis problem that I feel like NuPIC is well suited for if we can just figure out some of the key questions there. And then reading eye, which this is from Gary. I think Subutai, you might understand this more than me, but it's a visual problem. So he's trying to make some type of eye simulator to saccade over characters and read characters. So similar to stuff that we've done with MNIST. So I'm interested to see what he comes up with there. Okay, that's it. That's my update on our HTM challenge submissions. So I'm happy with those. I hope that a good percentage of them drive to completion and have a demo video ready in a couple weeks. Otherwise, that's all I have, guys, on my end. Thanks for joining. If there's nothing else.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Yep.
Okay, see you, chat with you on the mailing lists.
See you, Matt.